In just a few weeks' time, our world came to a crashing halt due to the COVID-19 outbreak, forcing businesses to close their doors, public services to slow, and schools to move online. This transition online has highlighted our society's digital inequalities. 21st century learners are now divided by a cable. In order to understand this divide, we have to take a step back. The internet began in the 1960s in its earliest network form known as the ARPANET. The ARPANET was a small national network that connected a number of universities and government facilities. Until the 1990s, the internet was not very accessible to the general public. In the early days of the public internet, the majority of the users and the backbone was still located in the United States. This all started to change in the late 90s as internet providers started to branch out. Soon, America fell behind. In 2000, South Korea quickly became the leader in broadband subscriptions per capita. We may have developed the technology, but we didn't make a plan to make it available to the majority of our population early on. Since then, the United States has steadily expanded its broadband access. As we all know, the internet is now widely available and a part of everyone's everyday life. Or is it? In 2015, only 61% of children ages 3 to 18 had internet access at home. This isn't that surprising considering that nationwide about 25% of households do not have internet access. Internet access 20 years ago would not be considered a necessity. However, our increasing dependency on internet access is making broadband a barrier for lower income families. This becomes a problem as 80% of students are being provided some form of digital learning device by their school, and overwhelmingly, instructors are now expecting students to have internet access at home to complete work and participate in activities outside of class. The National Center for Education Statistics, backed by the U.S. Department of Education, released a number of documents. These documents show trends in access to internet at home being strongly correlated with parents' highest level of education along with household income. Students who grew up in a household where one parent had a doctorate were twice as likely to have internet access at home than those whose parents didn't even have a high school degree. As long as broadband is not a public service or heavily subsidized, this will continue to be the case. The U.S. has a public education system that aims to give every student a fair shot at success no matter what their background is. Now, not all public schools are equal, but that's not necessarily what we're looking at here. More and more statistics keep coming up supporting that internet access at home is leading to better grades and higher standardized test scores. Overall, it comes down to the simple fact that a non-public service is creating a very large roadblock for students from lower income families to succeed in their public education. This all matters more than ever with the COVID-19 outbreak, as schools have had to move to an online format coined as distance learning. Internet access has become a great concern. Some schools were simply forced to close their doors for the rest of the year because such a large percentage of students didn't have the necessary technology or broadband access to participate in distance learning. What can we do to fix this issue? Well, the FCC created a national broadband plan back in 2010 aimed at fixing some of these issues, but a decade later, many of these goals are still not met. An updated plan needs to be put in place and serious action needs to be taken in order for it to succeed. A robust, far-reaching network needs to be built in order to level the playing field and give every student a fair chance to succeed in the schools of the 21st century.